All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. It is Wednesday, January 24th. We got a healthy-sized NBA slate to dive into in today's video. Like we always do, we're going to go through each and every one of these games. I'm going to give you my lean on the spread. I'll give you my lean on the total. We'll talk about any other plays like player props that I like within the game. But as always, all of my final plays. If you do want to fade my picks and do the opposite, go right ahead. Those plays are going to be in the pinned comment. Last night, and I'll say this, there's a lot of guppies, a lot of haters in the comments yesterday. Last night, we go 4-0. We hit the Knicks minus 4.5. The Nets team total under 110.5. Spencer Dinwiddie for plus money under 5.5 assists. And then to cap it off, Kawhi Leonard, a first half cash. Let's go, money gun, baby. Come on. We've been sweeping like you read about. Now, hey, I'm not the world's best sports bettor, right? Like, this hot streak is bound to come to an end at some point, but let's enjoy the damn sweeps while we can. A 4-0 night. Hit that cha-ching. Pump in some crowd noise. We're having a ball over here. That Kawhi Leonard one, I tweeted about it. By the way, follow me over on X at EvGuyBoston. He hit that in the first half, and I was like, bummer. I wanted to stay up late and watch a West Coast basketball game. But you know what? Kawhi put me to bed early because he cashed in the first half. But nonetheless, guys, we also have some good news with the ride of the day. By the way, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button for the sweep. We've now swept in, I think, 3 of our last 6 days. Huh? Are you kidding me? But nonetheless, Michael comes through with Taurean Prince here over 10.5 points. So Prince started off pretty damn shaky, like really shaky. Finishes with 11 points, so he does cashes over, and we do, another cha-ching, hit the ride of the day. So shout out to Michael here, guys. If you guys don't know what the ride of the day is, all we do is jump on board with someone's pick in the comments. You got to use the hashtag ride of the day or hashtag ROTD in the comments, guys. That's what I'm scanning for, and I'm jumping on board with one person's pick, giving you a shout out in the next video, win or loss. If you win, we continue to ride with your pick. So looking forward to Michael's picks down below in the comments. Today we'll be jumping on board until he loses. But yeah, get those hashtag ride of the days in. We get a lot of messages being like, you never pick me, you never. Guys, with the hundreds of comments that we get, we're going through and picking one person. You know what I mean? Like, it isn't easy to pick one person, just one person. So I promise, everyone's gonna get their chance and all that type of thing. So keep dropping those hashtag ride of the days in the comments. And again, like I said, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. Let's go ahead and jump into today's slate. Weird one. We're starting off with a weird one. We got Detroit taking on Charlotte. Now, Detroit is at home here. They're -3 on the spread. Total sitting at 233.5. So Detroit as favorites this year. Only 3 times they've been favorites. They are 0-3 against the spread. Now, do I think that means that, oh, wow, back Charlotte? It's like, no, this Charlotte team is really nothing to write home about. And they're coming off of kind of a not to say a big win, but a pretty big win against Minnesota, a couple nights back. So I do think that Detroit's probably in the best spot in this game. Charlotte also just, what do they trade? Terry Rozier, right? So it's like a little bit of maybe rockiness going on with them. So I'm going to lean towards Detroit minus the 3 points here. I don't think that becomes a final play, if I'm being completely honest, as well as the total. Like, I think that this one probably goes up and over just because Detroit, in the last 10 games, which is kind of crazy, they are playing at the 7th fastest pace. And if I thought Charlotte was going to control the pace here, I'd lean towards the under because they're playing at a very slow pace in the last 10. But Detroit, if I'm leaning them to win by 3, then I guess I'll lean towards the over. Hopefully you can tell in my voice it's not really my strongest play on today's board. In fact, it's not even my strongest play within this game. One play that I don't mind, and it's not necessarily something that I envision definitely hitting or anything like that, but Jalen Duren over 1.5 assists. This is coming from a quantity perspective, to be completely honest. This is a guy that's averaging just over 4 potential assists per game, and I like to cut those potential assists in halves and give you kind of a floor of where your line should be. So essentially, I'm expecting him to get 2 assists. Nothing major. He's hit it in 4 straight games against Charlotte once this season. He's also hit this in 71% of games this year. So Jalen Duren over 1.5 assists. Nothing else really jumps out to me in this game whatsoever. Pretty bad game, guys. If you are a psycho, if you have like a strong opinion on this game, but if you're a psycho, I love you even more for it. Next up, we have Washington hosting Minnesota here. So Minnesota, a weird kind of situation for them, I guess you could say. Last game, Karl-Anthony Towns goes off for 60 plus, but they ultimately lose the game. We just talked about it. Charlotte kind of comes and takes that game from them, really steals it. So I do expect them to bounce back. The graphic says 11.5. It's actually at 11 on most sports books right now as a consensus spread. So yeah, I'll lean towards Minnesota. I don't know if I touch it personally in terms of final plays, just because it is a big number, but this Washington team does not scare me whatsoever. I will throw in they've covered 2 of their last 3 games. They covered the big number against Denver. They lost by 9. They were 12.5 point dogs. Could that be a similar spot? They were at home against Denver. Minnesota's now on the road. Washington's still at home. Maybe. I just can't really back Washington whatsoever, right? Mike Conley is on the injury report, but he's probable for Minnesota today too. I think he missed last game, if I'm not mistaken. But regardless, doesn't really change my opinion on that laying the points with Minnesota. Now the total sitting at 229. I do think that Minnesota is obviously this defensive juggernaut in a sense, and they can hold teams to very low scoring. But like we saw in that Charlotte game, like I kind of been singing this from the rooftops recently, right? Like this Minnesota defense hasn't really been that impressive to me. Now, when I say that impressive, think about where they were a couple months ago and think about where they're at now, right? It's like it's still an obviously top tier defense in the league, but they're not necessarily playing, I guess you could say, with the same sort of intensity on the defensive end. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this game goes way under because they shut down Washington, but I'll lean slightly towards the over. And then a player prop I like in this spot. It's kind of cynical, but taking a peek at Karl-Anthony Towns under 23.5 points today. I just have some sort of, I don't know if I bet it myself because the guy just dropped a bunch of points, 62 points against Charlotte. And it's not like Washington covers the center position all that well, but or power forward position for that matter. But I do think that, a guy has some sort of a regression after dropping that many points. And Karl-Anthony Towns on the season has actually been hitting this under. He's hit this under in 62% of games this year. Played Washington. It was now dating ourselves a year ago. He had 8 points through 22 minutes. Obviously nothing really to put too much stock in, but yeah, like when he's had big games this entire season, he actually does regress. Like very rarely has he gone for 24 plus and then done it again. So yeah, as weird as it is, I'm taking the guy that had his own personal record and Minnesota Timberwolves record in terms of points. I'm gonna look at his under today. Does it make its way into a final play? Not sure. We started off the video with 2 pretty low end games to talk about today. But before we do get into some better games and the rest of the slate, guys, make sure you are checking out PrizePicks. They do have a free square going on right now. Christian McCaffrey, unbelievable football player, right? I know it's a basketball video, but this deal is too good to not mention here. They've knocked his rushing yards line down to 0.5. 0.5. He needs to rush for 1 yard and you win over on PrizePicks. And if you use the link in the pinned comment, you get your first deposit matched. It's an absolute no-brainer, guys. You already know that I rock with PrizePicks, Sleeper, and Chalkboard. Really the 3 that we're playing right now because they all have unique things, and this is an absolutely unique promo square. So make sure to go check it out. Again, you get this promo square, free square essentially, as well as 100% of your first deposit match. Go ahead and use that link in the pinned comment. If you haven't checked out PrizePicks yet and you've been thinking about it, why not? It's a trusted source. It's a great app and loads of fun, and you get the square. Go check it out, guys. You can put in $50. They'll match it. Give you 50 more. You'll have $100 in your account to play with. It's a no-brainer. Go check it out. That link in the pinned comment. Let's go ahead and get back to today's games. Miami taking on the Grizzlies here. I do think this is a good spot for Miami. Not to say that they've been playing like stellar basketball or anything like that, but Memphis has been... I haven't been able to trust them. Now, they win that game against Toronto. I give them credit. Awesome. But I just really can't seem to get a beat on what they're doing, and Miami is absolutely due. They've lost 3 straight games against teams that they probably could have / should have beat. And not only did they lose, but 2 of those 3 games, they got smoked by Toronto and then Orlando. Like, this team is absolutely due. They're starting to get healthy here, I guess you could say. Jimmy Butler's back. Really, Jaime Jaquez is the only injury that matters to the starting lineup. Terry Rozier, new acquisition. I don't know if he plays today. He is listed as a doubtful game time decision. But I do think that Miami's going to start moving in the right direction. So I'll lean towards them. But the number is really, really high at 10. So I don't necessarily love what we're looking at there. In fact, it's kind of too many points. So even if you are in Miami, like I think that this is more of a spot in which sounds kind of corny to say, but we analyzed kind of the go forward strategy of Miami. Do they look good? Because this should be a game. I mean it. They pretty much outrank Memphis in so many different categories, and all of the main categories you should be looking at as a sports bettor, right? They should be able to win this game substantially, like by 15. I'm not even kidding. So if they don't do that, then maybe we kind of get the magnifying glass and look at them a little closer. So again, this could be a learning game versus a betting game, as corny as that is to say. But you guys have kind of seen our strategy, right? Even on big slates, we're picking our spots very, very particularly in the pinned comments, letting you know our final plays, and we've had a lot of success as of late. So keep an eye on the pinned comment for anything on this game. I don't know if we lay the points with Miami. Now, total sitting at 213, that just seems like it's too low, right? In the way that Memphis has been playing, like I said, they kind of are a chameleon in terms of if they play slow or fast. The negative about, how this is low, and I kind of want to lean towards the over, is that Miami is the second slowest team in the last 10 games here in terms of pace. So it's like, does Memphis kind of chameleonize and play slow like Miami does? Perhaps, but it just seems a little bit too low for me. Like, I don't see Memphis's defense really having much success against what Miami has to offer, even though the Miami offense has been god-awful. So I'm going to lean towards the over here. In fact, it's probably my favorite play in this game, as crazy as this is, but I think that this game gets into the 220s, mainly because I think Miami finally has, again, kind of to set the scene here, right? I'm betting on Miami to have a good game. They've looked like absolute dog you-know-what as of late. So in that same vein, I think that their offense clicks today as well. Like, they play better basketball from a win-loss perspective, and they score more points than they have been scoring. So I'm kind of betting on what we can't see in front of us, but what I believe to be there. So give me Miami. I also don't mind their team total. We'll take a peek at that. In terms of right now, hold on, I got it up in a tab here. In terms of what we're looking at from a Miami team total, you can get a pretty good line at, over 108.5, 109.5 over on FanDuel for some pretty easy odds. So might be something we consider there as well. Player props, you guys know how I feel about this Grizzlies team and teams that they play. Just too many question marks. So I'm going to stick away from player props in this spot. Rockets taking on the Blazers here. So the Blazers on a back-to-back here. They hung with OKC. OKC wins 111-109 last night, which is funny because OKC, I think they're 14-point favorites? I even leaned them in yesterday's video. No way I was laying 14 points. Way too many, right? But yeah, I guess shout out to the Blazers for keeping that game close. Honestly, almost winning it. Like, it came down to the last minute here. In this spot, I'm not going to look at the Blazers. Back-to-back situation against a Rockets team that we've kind of sung their praises when they are at home. Terrible on the road, and I mean terrible, relatively speaking, and good at home. They're at home today, so give me the Rockets minus the points. Again, a lot of factors in there just because of the back-to-back for the Blazers, Rockets at home, etc., etc. Now you're going to want to take a peek at the Rockets injury report. And in fact, I have it up in front of me so we can make it easy here. Look at this injury report. Jabari Smith Jr., Green, Van Fleet, Green. Pretty much everyone and their grandma is on the injury report here for the Rockets. So if you are laying the 10 points with the Rockets, make sure you keep an eye on that injury report. Now, the total sitting at 220. We just saw the Blazers obviously go out there and compete with a high-scoring team, which, this Blazers offense is not something you can normally trust. But as of late, they're giving you 100+. I think it's 6 straight games or 5 straight games that they've scored 100+. Do they do that against the Rockets? Good defense, maybe, but even this Rockets defense, similar to the Timberwolves, has kind of been on a little bit of a slide. And you could be like, oh, that's because they were on the road. They had a long road trip. But even still, against Utah, 126 allowed. Against Boston, 116 allowed. The Blazers aren't either of those offensive teams, but I'm going to lean towards the over here, 220.5. I think this one gets just barely over. So, yeah, keep an eye on the pinned comment to see if that becomes a final play here. And then from a player prop perspective, I really tried to dig into this game because sometimes with some of these, no names and whatnot, you can find some good edge in games that, don't really have the best value overall, meaning the books aren't really like putting a fine eye to it. So you can find some good value. Struggle to find it. We obviously have a bunch of guys questionable here for the Rockets, so player props are kind of few and far between in a sense as well, but I expect all those guys to play. But nonetheless, I am going to probably stick away from player props in this game as well. Hate to say that in back-to-back games, but I keep it 100, right? Keeping it fully transparent. It is what it is. All right, next up, we have the Bucks taking on the Cavs. This is one of the better games on tonight, like I said already. kind of an iffy, wishy-washy type of slate today. A lot of games, but not the best slate. But I do like this game, and I like Cleveland plus the points, mainly because they've been playing good basketball. Now, their strength of schedule has been not great, okay? So I'm not trying to sit here and be like they've been playing incredible basketball, but this line is already moving from 7 to 6.5. Like, I think that if you can get this at 7, it is a good spot. So give me Cleveland plus the 7 points. They've won 8 straight games. They've covered in 7 of those 8. In Milwaukee, who, you know, their strength of schedule hasn't been all that great either. They're playing good basketball, but when are we going to acknowledge, and I know we have, that Milwaukee is just bad against the spread? I don't care if they're at home or on the road or whatever. They beat Detroit twice in their last 2 games, right? That's great. They lost against the spread. We just saw Cleveland play Milwaukee. It was in Cleveland, and with injuries, plenty of injuries. Giannis not playing, so I get it. But they get beat by, what was it, 30 points, 40 points, something like that. It's like there is a level of Milwaukee being a good win-loss team and also being able to be a bad against the spread team. Now, they are at home today, so I want to give them that sort of credit in a sense, but even against the spread at home, they're 8-13-1 this season. Straight up, they're 19-4. So this is a tale of, you know the saying, good teams win, great teams cover. Milwaukee's a good team if you use that, use that verbiage. So give me Cleveland plus the points. It definitely has a chance to be a final play as well, just because, again, I think that they can keep it close-ish, okay? Now, does Milwaukee have a game at some point where they just break out and say, all right, let's make some sort of a championship run and blah, blah, blah? Probably. They still are an incredibly talented team, but give me the Cavs here plus the 7 points. In terms of a total here, also Giannis is probable. I imagine he plays just based on this spread, but keep an eye on that injury report. I like the Cavs plus 7 if he gets ruled out late, even more, obviously. But in terms of a total, I also like the under in this spot. So if Milwaukee is gonna, I guess that's me betting on the Cavs plus the 7 points too. If they stay within this game, I do think that pace and defensive intensity, for all intents and purposes, kind of upticks a little bit. Cleveland, not the slowest of teams, but they are bottom half of the league in terms of pace. Milwaukee plays with tons of pace, second fastest pace in the last 10 games. But if I think Cleveland's going to kind of dictate how this game goes, give me the under in this spot. It's a high number as well, 235.5. Now, from a player prop perspective, I like Giannis's over in assists for a couple reasons here. One, he's been cashing this as of late. 10, 9, and 10 assists his last 3. He's hit this in 4 of his last 6, in 7 of his last 10, averaging nearly 16 potential assists per game over his last 7. And you're getting even odds over on BetMGM. FanDuel minus 104, Caesars minus 104, DraftKings minus 120. Plus money, plus 100, so even odds over on BetMGM. I think there's value there. If this were to kind of, the water finds its level and sit at minus 120 like it is on DraftKings, I don't know if I touch it or get as excited about it, but for plus 100, you could see Giannis plus 100 over 6.5 assists in the pinned comments today if that line stays there by the time we're done this video and stuff. So keep an eye on the pinned comment. I just think that there's a lot of volume, and obviously the dude can hit it. One of those times he didn't hit, so he didn't hit in 3 of his last 10, right? One of those times he had 6 assists. So it's like, I think that it matters. And he only played, that was against Boston when, Boston sat their starters and whatnot. He only played 25 minutes. So the dude's been passing the rock and converting those potential assists from, just a quantity and quality perspective. So if that stays at plus 100, I like that spot for him. 7 assists, not a lot to ask for from the dude right now. All right, Dallas taking on Phoenix here. Dallas getting a 1.5 at home. In terms of injuries, you kind of got to always look at the injury report for them. There's a lot to watch here. You have Luka and Kyrie both questionable in this spot. No major injuries on the Phoenix side of things, but Luka and Kyrie questionable. So this is going to obviously impact what we decide in this game. If those guys are a go, I actually like Dallas here at home. This Phoenix team has, I've been giving them credit for their wins and whatnot, and they have been playing good basketball. They kept their win streak alive by coming back and beating the Bulls, even though they didn't cover. But I just like what I see from Dallas in this spot and how they match up. So it's tough to kind of convince anyone watching this video because Phoenix has been playing good basketball. Dallas, you can make the argument, has not been playing good basketball, but if you look at the teams they've played, New York, New Orleans twice, Boston, and then their one win in their last, 4 games, 5 games, was against the Lakers. It's like they've had kind of a tough schedule, whereas Phoenix really not the same sort of schedule. They've played Memphis twice, Miami. They played Indiana without, banged up Indiana. So it's like, Could you make the argument that Phoenix and Dallas are kind of on the same playing field right now? Sure. That's not really what we're here to talk about. I guess we're talking about this game, and if Kyrie and Luka play, I like the points in this spot, leaning towards Dallas. I also like the under. So, yes, Dallas plays fast. Their pace is high in their last 10 here. They're in top 10 team in terms of pace of play. And then even Phoenix, they're playing fast. Some nights playing fast, or not playing fast some other nights. But in this spot, I do think that we see an under just based on what the number is. It's at 241 right now, right? And both these teams have cashed unders, kind of like you read about. The Suns, 7 of their last 10 to this line in terms of under. Same thing for Dallas. So give me the under 241. Could this game go out there and just be an absolute barn burner? Sure. Look at the guys we're talking about. Luka, Kyrie versus Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, and Bradley Beal. No kidding. These guys can go out there and drop a hammer game. I don't necessarily envision it happening, much like I don't necessarily envision Kevin Durant going over 41.5 points, rebounds, and assists. So last time he played Dallas, he cashed this one. This was, I believe, Christmas Day, right? He had 31. He had 16, 8, and 7. And not that Dallas is like this team that really can back and cover the small forward / power forward position well. But I just don't necessarily think that this is a line that makes much sense. He's one of the best players ever played. I understand that part, but it's a pretty inflated line at 41.5. It's because he's gone for 50 plus in 2 straight games. So we're kind of looking at the adverse side of that, and I'm going to look at the under 41.5 points, rebounds, and assists. It's also a valuable play over on FanDuel at minus 110 right now. DraftKings minus 120, BetMGM minus 120, and then Caesars minus 125. So FanDuel, you're getting some cents on the dollar there in terms of value as well. Guys, before we get on to the last 2 games, go ahead and comment 21. You made it this far into the video. Long-ish video today, but obviously it's a bigger slate, so comment 21. That lets me know that you're not a guppy, right? You guys see the new hat we're rocking? It's an upside down, not to say dead, YouTube, be nice. It's a mythical thing, but a guppy that ain't swimming anymore. Kind of a cool little design. So yeah, go ahead and drop 21. Let me know that you're part of the Fade Squad and not a guppy. For those asking in yesterday's video, what dignifies or what makes a guppy? It started as just like a hater on the channel as a guppy, but now it's just like a dummy. Like if you are coming in here with nonsense, you're a guppy. But honestly, it's just a hater of the channel, I guess. All right, Spurs taking on the Thunder. This is a weird line to me. I know the Thunder are on a back-to-back, and I know we already talked about it. They just barely won their game last night, but 7 points seems like it's not that much to lay against a Spurs team. Now, this is a Spurs team that I can give them credit. They've been pretty good against the spread, right? 8-2 in their last 10 against the spread here, and they've only won 3 games. So it's like they're losing, but they're covering. But yeah, I just like the Thunder in this spot. I know it's a back-to-back. It probably doesn't make its way into being a final play. It's not my most confident even pick in this game, which actually most confident play would be Jalen Williams here, over 17.5 points. The dude's been just crushing this on the season, even before he kind of had this like absolute blossoming, right? He's hit this in 57% of games on the season. In his last 20, he's hit this in 70% of games, 14 of his last 20, and then in his last 10, he's hit this in 9 of his last 10. And I don't necessarily think that, San Antonio is anything defensively, that's something that we have to worry about. So I'll lean towards him over his points. Now, in terms of a total, we're looking at 241, right? Seems a little bit too low to me. If this Thunder team plays at full strength, and again, they're on a back-to-back, do they sit? They're a young team, maybe. I don't think that they sit anyone, but maybe if they do, this all kind of goes out the window. In fact, if they sit anyone, Jalen Williams plays, I like that 17.5 a lot more. But in terms of a total, if they don't sit anyone, I think that the Thunder come in, drop a lot of points. San Antonio doesn't play any defense, and maybe, just maybe, San Antonio puts up enough points for this to be an easy over cash. So I'll lean towards the over in this spot as well. All right, Warriors taking on the Hawks. Again, not to bring it up again and kind of get all down, I guess, but obviously the Warriors lost their assistant coach, what was it, a little over a week ago, maybe a week ago. This is their first game in almost 10 days, which is crazy to say, but you can look at that 2 ways. You could look at that from a betting perspective and be like, oh, well, they're going to be rusty, blah, blah, blah. Screw that. I think that they come out at home here and play ballistic. I think that they go and win this one for him, and that type of thing. So, again, I do kind of apologize in advance or right now to be using that sort of situation for betting purposes. But it is what it is. It's a factor right now. So I do think that they go out and play for him. And I hope they do. Like, I hope that this is a huge moment for this team and they play well in honor of their assistant coach. Like I'd like to see that. So I like Golden State minus the points in this one. This line's already dropped to 6. So yeah, maybe the books are like, oh, actually, we kind of like Atlanta here. I think everyone's going to be on the sort of public side of what I'm probably saying, right? Like the narrative game. But nonetheless, give me Golden State in this spot. I also don't mind looking at some players on Golden State. Now, in particular, no one necessarily jumps off the page to me. Like Steph's line is pretty damn high at 28.5, but I don't mind him to have a decent night, right? And we do have some injuries that we're waiting for too. Podziemski is questionable here, and then a bunch of guys on the Hawks side are questionable. Trae Young is out. So I do think that Golden State has a good game player prop wise. Like I said, we are kind of we'll wait and see what we can come up with from a player prop perspective, but main play here is going to be Golden State minus the points. It has dropped to 6 even without Trae Young. It looks like the books are kind of afraid of giving out those +7s, +7.5s, but give me the Golden State Warriors in this spot, as well as the over. Like I said, I looked at some player props. I do think that points will be scored in this game. Atlanta does not play any defense. We know that. So Warriors and the over, my two main leans in this game. And guys, it's going to wrap for today's video. Again, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button if you have not yet. We just crossed 50,000 subscribers a couple days ago, and we're not stopping, right? Like, we're still going to grind. We're still making moves, making great content. I have a lot of free time coming up in the next, month and a half, 2 months. So we're going to do more streams and everything like that. So I really do appreciate all the support. Tassos appreciates the support. We're really running like a two-man show here, which is cool because we keep it real and keep it honest and everything like that, and just have fun doing it. Like, if you're not genuine in what you're doing, it doesn't have to be YouTube or anything like that. If you're not genuine in what you're doing, like, you're living that sort of fallacy, right? Like, no matter if you're selling cars or something, just be real and you'll wake up every day with a little bit better of a mindset about what you're doing, right? So, not to get all philosophical and deep there and, life coaching, but guys, appreciate everyone's support. Appreciate all of the engagement and everything, even the guppies. You guys commenting help, obviously, as well. So, we'll catch you guys in the next one, all right? Peace out.